I should have never taken that shortcut. It was late, too late to be driving alone down a desolate road with nothing but the whispering wind and the distant chirping of crickets for company. I had been on the highway for hours, my eyes dry and heavy from staring at the road ahead. I just wanted to get home. That's when my GPS suggested an alternate route, a back road that cut through the woods, shaving off 30 minutes from my drive. It seemed like a blessing at the time. The moment I turned onto that narrow road, I felt something shift in the air. The trees stood unnaturally still, towering over the cracked pavement like silent sentinels. My headlights barely pierced through the darkness. A shiver crawled up my spine, but I shook it off. Just my imagination. I kept driving. Then my radio cut out. Static buzzed through the speakers before dying completely, leaving me alone with the eerie silence. I glanced at my phone mounted on the dashboard. No signal. That was expected, I reasoned. After all, I was in the middle of nowhere. But as the road twisted and turned, growing narrower and more suffocating with each mile, I started to regret my decision. The headlights flickered for a second, just a second, but long enough for my breath to hitch in my throat. That's when I saw it. A figure stood by the side of the road. It was just a blur in my peripheral vision, but I knew I saw something. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. Maybe a hitchhiker? But who would be out here at this hour? My pulse quickened as I pressed on the gas. Then my heart stopped. The same figure appeared again, 100 feet ahead, standing in the same eerie stillness. I slammed the brakes. My tires screeched against the cracked pavement. I sat frozen, my breath coming in short, panicked bursts. The figure stood in the glow of my headlights, a tall, gaunt man in tattered clothes, his face obscured by shadows. He didn't move, didn't flinch. I swallowed hard. "Hey, are you okay? Do you need help?" My voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. No response. Then he took a step forward. That was enough. My survival instincts kicked in, and I floored it. The tires spun for a second before the car lurched forward, speeding past the figure. My fingers were white-knuckled on the wheel. I didn't dare look in the rearview mirror. I just needed to get back to the main road, but the road never ended. No matter how far I drove, the trees never thinned, the turns never straightened. My gas gauge dipped lower, my panic rising with every passing mile. Then, up ahead, I saw something that made my stomach drop. A sign. Dead end. That wasn't possible. I had been driving straight. My headlights illuminated the wooden post, weathered and broken, barely standing. My heart pounded as I gripped the wheel. My mind screamed at me to turn around, but my body wouldn't move. Then my engine sputtered. The car stuttered to a slow, agonizing stop. My breath hitched as I turned the key again. Nothing. The fuel light blinked red. That was impossible. I had at least half a tank when I turned onto this road. My stomach twisted. A slow knock sounded on my window. I gasped, whipping my head to the side. The figure stood inches from my car, his face still hidden in shadows. But now I could hear it. His breathing. Low. Raspy. Too slow to be human. I scrambled for my phone. Still no signal. My fingers trembled as I reached for the lock button, but before I could press it, my headlights flickered and died. Darkness swallowed me whole. The knocking grew louder, more insistent. Then, the door unlocked on its own. I screamed, shoving my weight against the door to keep it closed. The handle rattled violently, as if someone or something was trying to pry it open. My pulse hammered as I reached for the glove compartment, fumbling for the small pocket knife I kept there. Then the knocking stopped. Silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. I didn't dare move. A sudden creak echoed from the back seat. My blood turned to ice. I wasn't alone. Slowly, I turned my head, dread coiling in my stomach. The darkness made it impossible to see, but I felt it, felt the cold presence behind me. My breath came in shallow gasps as I gripped the knife tighter. A whisper slithered through the darkness, inches from my ear. "You shouldn't have taken the shortcut." I lunged forward, twisting the key again, praying to whatever higher power existed. The engine roared to life. Without hesitation, I slammed the gas pedal, the tires skidding as the car surged forward. I didn't care if I hit anything. I just needed to get out. Branches scraped against the windows like skeletal fingers. The road blurred past me, and just as my panic reached its peak, I saw it, the highway. I burst onto the open road, my breath coming in ragged sobs. The streetlights were a welcome sight, their glow chasing away the suffocating darkness. My phone buzzed, and I nearly cried out. Signal restored. I didn't stop driving until I reached the nearest gas station. My hands shook as I stepped out, gulping in the fresh air. The attendant eyed me warily as I stumbled inside. "Rough night?" he asked. I nodded, still catching my breath. I took a shortcut through the woods. Car died. Saw someone." His expression darkened. "Which road?" I hesitated. I don't know. It was just a back road. Said it would save me time." The attendant paled, shaking his head. "That road doesn't exist." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean? I just drove through it." He sighed, rubbing his temple. "You're not the first. That road, it's not on any map. People take it thinking they're saving time. Some never come back." A chill ran through me. I turned back toward my car, suddenly afraid to look inside. The passenger door was unlocked.